Director of Federation of Uganda Employers. We'll also have the speech of the Secretary General of Trade Unions, and we'll also have the speech. We will have a keynote address made by the Director of the International Labour Organization, and we will have an official statement by the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development. And thereafter, we will have a panel discussion. We'll have a panel discussion. Our dear esteemed panelists, who will involve the ILO, will also involve HIVOS, and will also involve Ministry of Gender, and the discussion will be moderated by Lydia Buite, the Deputy Executive Director of Platform for Labour Action. With really the diverse knowledge that the panel will have, we will delve into deeper challenges and solutions surrounding child labor. And of course, we hope that this will spark off meaningful conversations, igniting a collective determination to make a difference. Ladies and gentlemen, as we embark on today's program, let us remember that our united efforts can create a world where every child is free from the shackles of child labor and can enjoy their right to be, to be free and have a bright, promising future. We thank you for your presence and your dedication in the fight against child labor. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, at this moment, allow me to invite children who are sorry about that. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, as we embark on this day's program, I would like us to remember that our united efforts can create a world free from child labor, but also let us be the driving force that is behind the change. I want to thank you. A very important segment of the program today is we are very privileged to have children who will be presenting to us their thoughts, their minds, their ideas, what they think that as a country we need. And that said, I would like to welcome St. James Bina Primary School, who are going to present a song, and thereafter we will have children from Spring Valley Nursery and Primary School who will share through a poem. As the children come, I would like to recognize the presence of the National Union of Trade Unions and the acting executive director, Ms. Harriet Auma. You are very welcome. I would also like to recognize the presence of COF2, represented by Ms. Achiro, who is the acting director. You're very welcome. Children, please, you are welcome. Let's give a round of applause as the children set up and get ready to give us
Yes. This is St. James Bina Catholic Primary School, one of the beneficiaries of PLA. Okay. Are you ready, Bina? It seems you are not ready. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, start.
Atanga tebakolanga
abo bali bamanyi
tebakola ssebo
balina emirembe
sikulapu tebamulonda
abo bali bamanyi
tebali ebyo
balina emirembe
obubeera tebabulondanga
abo bali bamanyi
tebali ebyo
balina emirembe
pulatifomu mwebale nnyo
abo bali bamanyi
mwebale okulwanira abaana
balina emirembe abo bali bamanyi balina emirembe
nande bali bulungi
abo bali bamanyi
bali bulungi
balina emirembe abo bali bamanyi balina emirembe
n'olwekyo omukwate b'eŋŋambe
aloteeseza munnaffe nanganda daloteeseza
n'olwekyo omukwate b'eŋŋambe
daloteeseza munnaffe nanganda daloteeseza
mwabala temukola abange
daloteeseza munnaffe nanganda daloteeseza
sikulapu temulonda
daloteeseza munnaffe nanganda daloteeseza
BOA mwebala abange
daloteeseza munnaffe nanganda daloteeseza
mulalidde ddagala abange
daloteeseza munnaffe nanganda daloteeseza
mwela batuliddamu olungi
daloteeseza munnaffe nanganda daloteeseza
mwela batuliddamu olungi
daloteeseza munnaffe
abaganda
daloteeseza daloteeseza munnaffe nanganda 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 daloteeseza perekera namunene perekera masotala 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 perekera namunene perekera namunene perekera masotala perekera namunene perekera masotala perekera namunene perekera namunene perekera masotala perekera namunene perekera namunene perekera masotala perekera namunene perekera masotala perekera namunene perekera namunene perekera masotala perekera namunene perekera namunene perekera masotala perekera namunene perekera masotala perekera namunene perekera masotala perekera namunene perekera namunene perekera namunene bulungi abo bali bamanyi bali bulungi balina emirembe abo bali bamanyi balina emirembe abeta bali bulungi abo bali bamanyi bali bulungi abeta bali bulungi abo bali bamanyi bali bulungi
kale mwebale
bakusa baana babwe
baana baffe mwebale
abalina magezi abo bali bamanyi balina emirembe
wow members, a round of applause for the brilliant performance by the children there from St. James Bina Primary School. You see, while I was in primary school, at exactly that age, the best days of my school days were Parents' Day. When you got on the stage and your parents were in front of you and you did the performance. When you looked and you saw your parents, oh God, that was the moment. So for these children, this is a great moment for them. And I think they have done well to showcase the Ugandan culture. A round of applause to them again. Baana baffe aba St. James Bina mwebale amazina ago n'oluyimba tusiimye nnyo mwebalire ddala. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a very good way to also welcome here with us the Minister of State in charge Youth and Children Affairs at the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. Join me in welcoming the Honorable Sarah Mateke Nyirabashitsi. You're most welcome, Honorable. Honorable, I guess you're very impressed by what your children can do. That was a great challenge to many of us. If you said, let each one of us come and showcase their cultural dance, I guess many of us would falter, but they have done it perfectly. Thank you so much. Without wasting much time now, we are going straight into the anthems, since the Honorable Minister is here, and then we flow as the program has been stated already. May we stand up for the anthems, ladies and gentlemen. We start with the Ugandan anthem. For those putting on caps, caps off, please. Let's go. African anthem. Thank you so much. Let's be seated. Our Honourable Minister, with your permission, since we are here because of the children, after that enthralling performance by St. James Bina, we have one more poem to be performed before we invite the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development. So may I take this opportunity to invite Spring Valley Nursery and Primary School to come and give us this poem that is full of a key message. Then we launch into the speeches lined up for the day. Ladies and gentlemen, let's pay keen attention to this poem because it could have the key message that we need to carry home with us this morning. Thank you so much. A round of applause for them as they come.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nasasla Promise. I'm from Spring Valley Nursery and Primary School, located in Lunguja, Kosovo, in Rubaga Division. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share our issues and represent the 6 million children stuck in child labor. As children, we call you all to join the movement against child labor. we are going to recite a poem entitled United Voices,
Illuminating path to social justice.
A land where our dreams should soar so high. We gather today beneath the sky. With heavy hearts, we speak our truth, for child labor steals our precious childhood and youth.
In Uganda's embrace, where hope should bloom, childhood fades, wrapped in shadow's gloom. We stand as voices, united and strong, to end this injustice, to right the wrong.
We stand here today, united as one, in the fight against child labor. Yet undone, many tiny hands, burdened and frail, denied the right to learn, their dreams impaired.
Oh, policy actors, hear our plea. Open your hearts. Let justice be what you decree. Enforce laws to shield us from this polite. Ensure our future shine bright. Protect children. End shame. Set us free.
Donors, with hearts filled with empathy, touch the lives of many children. Invest in our education. On your wings we fly higher together.
We shed these tears for the countless souls stuck in labor's grip, their stories untold, their dreams stolen, hopes left to fade. Civil society, our champion is true. Stand beside us. Let our message break through.
Workers' union, fight side by side for decent work. Fair condition we seek.
Private sector, embrace your role this urgent hour. On this World Day against child labor, we stand assured that tomorrow is better. Your presence here today is a sign that you are on this journey with us. Your voice, our voice added together, we break the chains of child labor. We thank you for God and my country.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much, Spring Valley Nasaran Primary School. Ladies and gentlemen, I guess even if the event closed now, the message has been delivered. The message has been delivered. And I'm so happy that we are live on NTV and many people, many Ugandans are following what's going on here. I'd like to thank all those who have made it very possible because you enable this key message go out far and wide. With that poem, we now have a grounding for all the speeches for this morning. I guess we speak to the poem and the key issues that the children have raised. They represent, like they said, the millions who are there trapped in the vice of child labor. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development, Mr. Agri David Chibenge, to come and speak to us. A round of applause.
Honorable Sarah Nyirabashiki Mateke, the Minister of State, Youth and Children Affairs, Mr. Jelas Chirove, the International Labour Organization Interim Director from the country office, Dar es Salaam, heads of missions, representatives of our development partners, representatives of our social partners, and we have Harriet Auma from the Federation of Uganda Employers. We have Beatrice Achiro, the Vice Chairperson of COF2. I know we have representatives here of NOTU and probably other union leaders, representatives of civil society organizations, teachers and the children, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I would like to welcome you all to this very important annual event when Uganda joins the rest of the world to commemorate the World Day Against Child Labor for the year 2023. The International Labour Organization launched the first World Day Against Child Labor in 2002 as a way of highlighting the plight of children engaged in child labor. It is observed every June 12th and serves as a catalyst for the growing worldwide movement against child labor. On this day, the ILO tripartite plus members, namely governments, workers, and employers organizations, as well as NGOs, civil society organizations, private sector, and the public come together to renew efforts towards the elimination of child labor, which many rightly regard as a form of violence against children. This year's theme is social justice for all and child labor. And it affords us an opportunity to promote concrete actions aimed at addressing the root causes of child labor and to advance social justice, which was at the heart of the Durban Call of Action adopted at the 5th Global Conference for Elimination of Child Labor in May 2022 in Durban, South Africa. Child labor refers to work that is mentally, physically, socially, or morally dangerous and harmful to children. It is hazardous work, which by its nature, or in the circumstances under which it is performed, jeopardizes the health, safety, and morals of the children. Child labor is also perceived as work or activities that interfere with children's school attendance. I was looking at the publication from UBOS, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, which categorized child labor amongst these different age groups. And it says children are child laborers if they are 1, aged 5 to 11, and they are to work in economic activity since they are not expected to work. Children 5 to 11. Forget the simple household chores, which include cleaning, removing plates after meals, and so on and so forth. That is not categorized as child labor. But they are breaking activities that we load onto children 5 to 11 years. But there are those also aged 12 to 13 doing work in economic activity other than light work, or who do work beyond 14 hours a week. And then the third category is children 14 to 17 years involved in hazardous forms of work, or who are working for an equivalent of 43 hours in a week or beyond. Even those 14 to 17. And this category you'll find those that have either completed primary school or are supposed to be at the level of post-primary education and training. Child labor is the most visible problem caused by and perpetuates poverty and exclusion. It deprives children of education, skills, and other opportunities, which ultimately jeopardizes their chances of securing decent incomes and stable employment later as adults. From the age groups that I've mentioned, one thing that is common is that all of them are supposed to be at school, either at the pre-primary education level or primary, considering that the school-going age in Uganda is 6 years. So a child between 5 and 11 who is not at school and is involved in work is being deprived of an opportunity to access education, to acquire skills and other opportunities that will sustain their livelihoods in future. It is injustice that is felt in most cases at the level of households and families. The children in their poem were appealing to all of us. But I think at the end of the day, before we talk about the private sector, before we talk about government, before we talk about our partners, civil society organizations, the unions, we must address ourselves to the parents, because child labor is most rampant at that level. 2/3 of child labor occurs at family level, and it's perpetuated by family members. It holds back economic growth of entire countries and can be linked to rising inequality in many parts of the world. It is a threat to social cohesion. The recent UBOS National Labor Force Survey, part of which statistics I've been quoting, of 2021, revealed that 6.2 million Uganda children, and that is about 40% of the 15.7 million children aged 5 to 17, were engaged in child labor. 6.2 million engaged in child labor, excluding those doing household work, with more boys, 50.4%, than girls, 49.6%. The difference does not give us any comfort. The difference between 50 and 49.4 doesn't give us any comfort. The rates were higher in rural areas, 42%, compared to urban areas, 32%. And of these, 10.4 million children were working in an equal share of 6 in 10 by sex. The findings revealed that 8 in 10 of the children aged 5 to 11 were working, yet they are not supposed to be working. They are supposed to be in school. They are supposed to be cared for and guided in terms of their development. The proportion of children involved in hazardous occupations or industries and working for long hours, more than 14 hours a day, was almost 3%. That's within the industries. And you heard earlier that Uganda's prevalence of child labor rose, especially during the COVID pandemic, from a figure of 4,096,000 to 6.2 million. That's the 40% I referred to earlier. And the agriculture sector accounts for over 90% of these children. and these are deprived of their right to education, decent work, and protection from exploitation. The COVID pandemic and its immense impact on health, temporary school closures, rise in adult unemployment, and loss of livelihoods simply exacerbated these numbers. The focus of this year's theme, Social Justice for All End Child Labor, calls for the need to eliminate child labor as a cornerstone of the aspirations for social justice, through which every worker can claim freely and on the basis of equality of opportunities their share of the wealth they helped to generate. As a matter of emphasis, social justice in the world of work is centered around improving the rights of the marginalized groups on the basis of race, age, sex, disability, etc., with a goal of seeking to enhance their well-being through equal access to health care, justice, and economic opportunities. Social justice should be a blueprint for turning the tide against child labor using every available economic, political, or social lever. There is urgent need to ensure that child labor is prioritized in our national and global policies, programs, and activities, and in development cooperation, financial, trade, and investment agreements. As we commemorate this day, the International Labour Organization and the international community, including Uganda, are calling for, one, reinvigorated international action to achieve social justice, particularly under the envisaged Global Coalition for Social Justice, with child labor elimination as one of its important elements. Two, universal ratification of ILO Convention number 138 on minimum age, which together with the universal ratification of the ILO Convention number 182 on worst forms of child labor achieved in 2020, would provide children with legal protection against all forms of child labor. And three, effective implementation of the Durban Call to Action to scale up efforts to, one, accelerate multi-stakeholder efforts to prevent and eliminate child labor, with priority given to the worst forms of child labor, by making decent work a reality for adults and youth above the minimum age for work. Two, end child labor in agriculture. Three, strengthen the prevention and elimination of child labor, including its worst forms, forced labor, modern slavery, trafficking in persons, and protection of survivors through data-driven and survivor-informed policy and programmatic responses. Four, realize children's rights, the right especially to education, and ensure universal access to free, compulsory, quality, equitable, and inclusive education and training. In the case of Uganda, there is no excuse whatsoever. We have universal primary education, there is universal secondary education, there is universal post-primary education and training. There are all these opportunities that would help shield our children from child labor. So we should ensure that children access education, but also achieve universal access to social protection, increase financing and international cooperation for the elimination of child labor and forced labor. As you may be aware, the UN and her member countries adopted the Sustainable Development Goals, with the international community committed to ending child labor in all its forms by 2025. 2025 is 1.5 years away. And to eradicating forced labor by 2030. Under the framework, countries participating in the Alliance 8.7 initiative, regarded as pathfinder countries, and Uganda is one of them, committed themselves to accelerate action towards achieving target 8.7 of the SDGs and to translate commitments into concrete actions. Uganda therefore identified 9 priorities that have been and are being implemented to achieve target 8.7 of the SDGs. Ladies and gentlemen, Government of Uganda recognizes child labor as a major challenge to sustainable development of the country. The government has mainstreamed issues of child labor into the design and implementation of policies like the National Child Labor Policy of 2006, the Employment Act of 2006, which has recently been amended by Parliament, and its attendant regulations, guidelines, standards, programs and projects, including the development and implementation of the second National Action Plan. Government has also developed and implemented the poverty reduction programs such as Operation Wealth Creation. We've had the Youth Livelihoods Program. We've had the WEP, the Women Entrepreneurship Program, Emioga. We are now moving into the parish development model. In the case of the women, we are going to support the women and the households further with a program called GROW that supports women entrepreneurs. But also put in place policies that I've talked about, UPE and USE, to ensure that all school-going children attend and remain in school to attain knowledge and skills needed to create decent jobs for wealth creation at the household level. Once we strengthen the household, then opportunities for children accessing school will increase significantly. Since 1996, the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, in partnership with our social partners, civil society organizations, and development partners, have been implementing various interventions to prevent and eliminate child labor. I, therefore, and in a very special way, would like to appreciate our development partners, including ILO, FAO, the International Organization for Migration, IOM, and the governments of the United States of America and the Kingdom of Netherlands for both the technical and financial support that have been extended to us towards elimination of child labor. We look forward to the continued support towards elimination of child labor and towards development programs in this country. I also take this opportunity to appeal to other partners to support our efforts towards total eradication of child labor in this country. I wish you all a very successful commemoration of the World Day Against Child Labor 2023, and say this for God and my country.
Thank you, PS, for those remarks and indeed setting us rolling. The theme for this year's Day for the World Against Child Labor is social justice for all and child labor. It's championing us, or it's challenging us indeed, to speak about the injustice that we accord to the children when we engage them in child labor. Many times as adults, when we talk about rights, we don't talk in the same strength when we're talking about the rights of the children. But if it's the rights to do with the adults, they will have even the guts to demonstrate, turn around events, but if it's the rights of the children, that is rarely seen. And therefore, the theme calls on us to accord equal representation to the rights of children. Social justice for all. Let's end child labor. Ladies and gentlemen, to speak to us next is the Executive Director or the representative for Federation of Uganda Employers. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Geoffrey Kabi to speak to us. Sorry.
Minister of State for Youth and Children Affairs, Honorable Sarah Mateke, our guest of honor, His Excellency Karin Boven, the Ambassador of Netherlands Embassy, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, Mr. Hagri David Chibenge, Mr. Alex Asimwe, Commissioner Industrial and Relations and Productivity, other government officials, Ms. Beatrice Achiro, Deputy Chair of COF2, Director of ILO, Mr. Jelas Chirove, ILO representatives from Uganda, Representative Notu, Representative from FAO, civil society representatives, employers and trade union leaders, the children, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Minister, I am grateful to make remarks on the occasion of the World Day Against Child Labor, when employers have joined the rest of the world to mark the day. I take this opportunity to thank your ministry for the support and guidance that you have always rendered to the Federation of Uganda Employers wherever you are contacted on any issue. More gratitude to the government of Uganda for enacting laws that protect the plight of children, and ILO for financial and technical support towards the elimination of the worst forms of child labor. The Federation of Uganda Employers is the premier employers organization in Uganda that represents its members' interest in all aspects of the economy through the tripartite and bipartite structures. Founded in 1958 as the employer's voice, currently its membership stands at over 650 corporate members with the 27 sectoral associations. Federation of Uganda Employers is a special fraternity of employers in Uganda which strives to promote best human resource practices and ensuring compliance with the labor laws among its core responsibilities. And this includes, though not limited to, elimination of child labor at the workplace and by extension outside the workplace. And we have been involved in the fight against child labor since 1999 with financial and technical support from International Labour Organization. The Federation of Uganda Employers believes that compulsory, quality, equitable education, social justice, social protection, and social dialogue are some of the powerful tools which can be used for the elimination of child labor in all its forms in order to preserve the future labor force for this country. According to ILO UNICEF 2016-2020 survey, the global estimates indicate that 160 million children aged 5 to 17 were engaged in child labor, and 1 in 10 children is involved in child labor. 79 million children are in hazardous work, endangering their health, safety, and moral development. 86.6% of the children are in sub-Saharan Africa, and child labor remains concentrated primarily in agriculture, with about 83%. child labor remains a persistent problem in Africa. Africa stands out as the region with the highest prevalence, and it has the largest number of children in child labor. The ILO global estimates indicate 92 million children, that is 40 million girls and 52 million boys, were engaged in child labor in Africa at the beginning of 2020, accounting for 1 in 5 of all children in Africa, and that is 21.6%. According to the National Labor Force Survey 2019-2020, child labor had doubled from 2 million, that is 14%, to 28%. And child labor further increased to 6.2 million, that is 40% in 2021. And this shows that child labor still poses a significant threat to children in Uganda, and this increase is linked to COVID-19 impacts. In addition, the proportion of 5 to 17-year-olds involved in child labor is higher among rural children, with 42.3% compared to those living in urban areas with 31.8%. And this underscores the strong link between poverty and child labor. This day, which is observed on June 12th, is intended to serve as a catalyst for the growing worldwide movement against child labor, reflected in the huge number of ratifications of ILO Convention number 182 on the worst forms of child labor and ILO Convention number 138 on the minimum age for admission to employment. Your Honor, the theme for this year's World Day Against Child Labor is social justice for all and child labor. And according to John Rawls' 1971, social justice refers to the fair and equitable division of resources, opportunities, and privileges in society. As employers, we are committed to Durban Call to Action on the elimination of child labor, focusing on making decent work a reality for adults and youth above the minimum age for work, ending child labor in agriculture, utilizing data-driven and survivor-informed policy and programmatic responses, supporting the realization of the children's right to education, achieving universal access to social protection, and increasing financing and international cooperation for the elimination of child labor and forced labor. Child labor, according to ILO Convention number 138 and ILO Convention 182, is work that harms children and work undertaken by children under conditions that are hazardous, illegal, or exploitative. It interferes with the education of the children by depriving them of the opportunity to attend school or forcing them to leave school prematurely, or even making them combine school attendance with heavy work. It constitutes a grave violation of children's rights, yet the majority of the children or child laborers are hidden from eyesight and behind the reach of the law. Honorable Minister, indicated below are some of the key activities undertaken by Federation of Uganda Employers to fight child labor in Uganda under Excel Africa project. The project focused on policies, laws, and regulations, empowerment and compliance, partnership, and knowledge sharing among supply chain actors. MOUs were signed with the 2 partner companies to implement Excel Africa project activities in Feb 2022, and these 2 partner companies were MacLeod Russell Uganda Limited, it's a tea company, and Bugisu Cooperative Union, and this is coffee cooperatives. So 2,400 outgrowers were trained on the strategies to eliminate child labor. Awareness raising was conducted to facilitate the elimination of child labor. 300 lead farmers from MacLeod Rasho, Uganda Limited, and Bugiso Cooperative Union were sensitized on the dangers of child labor and the importance of education. In support of the awareness raising and advocacy, the Federation disseminated information, education, and communication materials to 900 companies. To enhance knowledge sharing, FUE conducted a survey in coffee and tea supply chains to ascertain the degree and extent of child labor, as well as also to come up with recommendations for legal, regulatory, and policy improvements and adjustments. And basing on the recommendations, the survey, the Federation of Uganda Employers developed a policy position paper which advanced the Federation's policy and advocacy agenda with Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. Your Honor, because of time, I would not go through all the achievements by the Federation of Uganda Employers, but will be provided with a copy of the speech. So although poverty is one of the principal causes of child labor, the high cost of education, ignorance, natural calamities, and cultural values are also some of the reasons often cited as to why children of school-going age engage in child labor. Some children work in agricultural sector, for example, as a result of forced labor and trafficking. Child labor affects the education, performance, ambitions, and attainment of children's careers. Due to long hours dedicated to hazardous and heavy work, they are unable to attend school regularly, and they are usually tired and absent-minded, and therefore perform poorly and eventually drop out of school. On behalf of the employers, we recognize that child labor violates both the national laws and international conventions ratified by Uganda. It contributes to poor corporate image and low productivity wherever applied, and it deprives the nation of skilled future labor as children, rather than going to school, become engaged in child labor activities. Employers are therefore urged to strengthen efforts to collaborate with all stakeholders to ensure that companies enforce anti-child labor policies throughout their supply chains, develop and implement policies at their workplaces that discourage child labor, support vulnerable children's education through provision of scholastic materials, bursaries, through their corporate social responsibilities, and regularly monitor their farmers and how-to growers to ensure that they do not use children. As the world strives to achieve the elimination of child labor by 2025, let's join forces to end child labor in all its forms through social justice, information sharing, awareness raising, advocacy, social dialogue, research, and enforcement of child labor legislation. I thank you for your kind attention and wish you fruitful deliberations for God and my country.
Thank you so much, Harriet Auma, for those remarks on behalf of the Federation of Uganda Employers. Ladies and gentlemen, earlier there was a mishap. Both Mr. Geoffrey and Ms. Auma work for the same organization. Mr. Geoffrey will be particularly participating in the panel discussion, so he waits for his moment. Thank you once again, Harriet. As we proceeded, we were privileged to be joined by the UNICEF country representative, Dr. Mohamed El Munir, who is here with us. You're most welcome, sir. It's always a pleasure to see you around and join us on such key causes. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our next speaker, and that is Ms. Beatrice Achiro, who is the Deputy Chair of the COFTU, the Central Organization of Free Trade Unions. A round of applause.
Our guest of honor, Honorable Minister of State of Youth and Children Affairs, Honorable Sarah Mateke, the Interim Director, ILO, Mr. Jelas Cherov, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development, Mr. Agre David Chibenge, the Commissioner of Labor, Industrial Relation and Productivity, Mr. Alex Asimwe, the country representative, UNICEF, Mr. Munir, the Director, ILO Country Office, the representative of Federation of Uganda Employers, Ms. Harriet Auma, all the civil society organization representatives present here, all the trade union leaders in your different capacities, and all the representative of Federation of Uganda Employers in your different capacities, all the workers, ladies and gentlemen, protocol observed. On the 12th June every year, the world commemorates the World Day Against Child Labor. Today, 12th June 2023, we join the rest of the world to commemorate this important day. The trade unions and workers of Uganda are very passionate about children because they are our future workforce. And it is undeniable, irrefutable, and indisputable that any activity that disorganizes children's education and well-being negatively affects our future workforce. This year's theme, social justice for all, end child labor, as we observe this day, June 12th, World Day Against Child Labor, is intended to serve as a catalyst for the growing worldwide movement against child labor. It is well thought out and speaks volumes to all of us to take collective responsibility and use all avenues, strategies, actions to make child labor history in our country and in the world at large. The common assumption that for children to work in the home is harmless, while work for pay is harmful, is wrong, because there's both benefit and pain in most work, depending on conditions, attitude, and training of children. That is why it is very important to know clearly the differences between child labor and child work. Furthermore, the intervention of withdrawing children from child labor tend not to address problems facing their families, hence the need for an alternative, realistic, proactive support. In the different parts of Uganda, parents and children working on the same mines, quarries, acknowledge the work as hazardous, but they view it as a necessary response to extreme poverty. On the other hand, children may be better off accompanying their parents than being left alone at home. And yet, this is a complicated mathematics where the children will also get used and start dreaming that their parents do such work and are paid for such work, therefore it is a good job, while it is not. Therefore, as workers, we ask the government to put in place alternative measures and stringent laws that deter child labor regardless of poverty levels in the country. There is an urgent need for measures to reduce poverty and provide safety nets for children living in families facing crisis, and more appropriate in stopping child labor in Uganda. We also appeal to employers to follow the law and ILO conventions about working children, so that they should work under supervision with standard protective gears, and must make sure the SOPs are adhered to. Workers have done a lot in the areas of elimination of child labor. For example, they have carried out several projects with funding from ILO. COF2 carried out projects in line of eliminating child labor in Wakiso and Rakai, and NOTU carried out the same in Mbale and Wakiso, creating awareness to the community, encouraging formulation of ordinances, training the workers' leaders about the dangers of child labor, encourage general secretaries of different unions to integrate and mainstream child labor issues in their collective bargaining agreements. The workers' leaders have also built synergies with various stakeholders in a bid to eliminate child labor. Currently, COFs through our fleet have embarked on sensitization of their members about the dangers of child labor, and so not to, and to work as a team to eliminate the vice. They are also training workers in the tea value chain in Kikube and Hoima districts, and NOTO has done the same in the coffee value chain. As COF2 specifically, we continue to leverage on the flagship strategic programs to link organized labor, elimination of child labor, and national transformation. This strategic program generates the critical mass through organizing workers into labor unions, and then working through the labor unions and the organized labor to welfare, better services and productivity, and empower and transform the working people economically. This is done through an innovative framework of systems and structures for the delivery of a package of efficacious program for workers and labor unions with 8 products: education, continuous organizing, social justice, dialogue and legal aid, economic empowerment, information service, social protection, child labor elimination, and maternal and child health. This is the framework that guides the implementation of all our elimination of child labor work, and in developing a solid model of unionization and supporting workers at the lowest tiers. We would like to emphasize on some 2 aspects of child labor that we find critical on the ground. 1, discouraging push and pull factors. There is also widespread belief that it is the responsibility of the children to work to supplement family income and help the family meet some of the needs associated with schooling. This belief often compromises the need for the child to develop and reach their potential. It is critical to make a clear distinction between work that a child does as part of their social development process and work that deprives the child of the opportunities to develop. The workers both COF2 and NOTU centers have embarked on serious recruitment and organizing drive to make sure that many members from workplaces are trade union members who will guard against child labor engagement. In the future, the workers intend to develop a tool for action manual. This is a manual which will be developed to support effective trade union action aimed at the eradication of child labor. We would also like to appeal to the donors to fund child labor issues. And this donation should be given to the workers' fraternity, should be given to the civil society organization, such that child labor issues are rolled out. There are only few districts that have been reached as far as awareness creation of child labor is concerned. In summary, then, we would like to say that the problem of child labor is a complex and the strategies for addressing the problem require engaging the public in visualizing the complex nature of the problem and how we can all work together to address it. We believe that effective state intervention to eliminate inequities, including class and caste barriers, to employment and other opportunities in areas such as health and education, will put an end to child labor. It should be noted that the workers' representatives in this country are willing and committed to ending child labor and create the change that we would wish to see in Uganda and the world at large. Let's join hands, act now to end child labor, and give our children hope for tomorrow. Thank you. Solidarity forever for God and my country.
Thank you so much. Indeed, solidarity forever as we end child labor. Thank you so much, Ms. Beatrice Achiro, for those remarks. Honorable Minister, allow me to recognize also here with us the Commissioner, Youth and Children Affairs at the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, Mr. Fred Ngabirano. You're most welcome, sir. We have also been joined by colleagues, friends, partners from overseas. Allow me to recognize from the Food and Agriculture Organization from Rome. We have the child labor specialist, Eleonora Andrea. Here? Stepped out a bit? Okay. But we also have a team from the Global March Against Child Labor. Allow me to recognize Marco Dubbelt, who is here with us. Marco Dubbelt? Yep. Good to see you. We also have Gazelle Malik, Programs and Advocacy Manager at Global March. Good to see you. We are going to be doing lots of work with the team from Global March. Honorable Minister, right now, we're going into our keynote address for this morning, and to deliver this is the country ILO Director, acting in charge of ILO Country Office in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, Karibu, Uganda, Mr. Jealous Shiveron. You're most welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies, our guest of honor, Honorable Minister, Nyirabe Sarah Mateke, PS, Mr. Agri Kibenge, representatives from FUE and COF2, representing workers and employers organizations, colleagues from development partners, members of Netherlands, FAO, ILO, UNICEF, other senior government officials here present, Commissioner, all protocols observed. Let me recognize, I think once more, the children, the school children who are in this room. May I ask them to stand? The school children, I want to appreciate them. You know why? Please keep standing. when we go out to work, oftentimes they don't know what we do. And I think today they've seen a little bit of what we do. I hope they've only not seen that we take tea and speak, make long speeches. I struggled with my son one day, and he says, "Dad, what do you do?" It was 2 years ago. You know, these titles they give us. I say, "I'm an employment specialist." "What is that?" I give police advice. "What does that mean?" So I had to think again and say, are we able to break down what we do when we have an audience like this? And I want to say, in this group, they are the most prepared. They prepared a skit. Some of us, we just came. They prepared a drama here, and a dance and a song, and they are the most attentive. They don't have cell phones. They don't have laptops. I think half of us are on our cell phones. So I have been struggling and sitting, and I have a written, prepared speech. How do I make sure that I talk to these kids? Please take your seats. I hope I can make an effort. One of the things I wanted to do was to actually define child labor, but then they did it and finished. And they also even explained the role of the various stakeholders, development partners, private sector, workers. I say wonderful, at least we are together. So congratulations on that. As we are gathering here today, in Geneva, at the headquarters of the ILO, the International Labour Conference is going on. Now I start to confuse them. What is International Labour Conference? It is the gathering of workers, employers, and governments all over the world to discuss matters, labor and employment, and to come up with international labor laws that are then adopted by countries. So today in the afternoon, there will be an event like this in Geneva, where more than 5,000 from all over countries have gathered to commemorate the World Day Against Child Labor and to say, what have we done as workers and employers and governments to raise our voices against this pressing issue? The abolition of child labor is a cornerstone of what we call social justice. And I was asked to explain, I have to break down now again, what is social justice? For the purposes of my friends. Now, social justice happens when equal opportunity is given in a free manner and under conditions of equality for everyone to claim the benefits of wealth that is jointly created. To illustrate this, let me just use the workplace, where we all work and there is wealth that is created. Is there an equal chance for all people who are in that enterprise to claim the benefits of that work, especially for workers? And you can agree with me with that thinking that that cannot happen if there is a lot of wealth that is created, profits generated from the enterprise, and yet the workers are not getting wages that can help them to work out of poverty. This is at the founding statement of the ILO in 1919. And I like to, this statement which one of your staff, Honorable Minister, called the Kateka Mondo, I think he works with our commissioner. He likes this statement that poverty anywhere is a threat to prosperity everywhere. And this is the basis of social justice. And so when we talk about social justice, it is the opportunities for us to share in the wealth that is created. For nearly 2 decades, the world made commendable progress on child labor. However, post-COVID, I don't know if it's correct to say post-COVID, but in the COVID recovery phase, which we are in, we have seen that the challenges of post-COVID recovery, conflicts, crisis have actually brought back the issue that we thought we were making good progress on. It is sad to note that globally, this year is the first year when absolute numbers of child labor are going up in absolute numbers. The trend has been to go down, but now even the absolute numbers globally, and we have heard from the PS about Uganda. So it means some of the progress we had made has been rolled back a bit. What does it mean? We need to redouble our efforts. And to do so in Uganda, the framework is there. Core conventions have been ratified, Honorable Minister, but also Uganda is a member of the 8.7 Pathfinder country, which is aiming to end for all forms of child labor by 2025. Uganda also has a national action plan revised for elimination of all forms of child labor. And so this provides a very good framework in which concerted action can be taken to address this issue. I will not go to the statistics mentioned by the PS from UBOS. I think he quoted very well, but you can all agree that we need to all come together, the various players, and in ILO, we are committing to play our part. Firstly, through the project that is called Excel, which my colleague Jackie Banya is coordinating. I don't see her, but she is around. We are supporting the implementation, review of the National Action Plan on elimination of all forms of child labor, and mainstreaming, supporting children's rights through education, arts and media, kind of what you saw here, international curriculum for professional distance education. We also supported UBOS to generate the child labor survey, which our PS was quoting from. And we have also been working to address some of the root causes related to supporting coffee and tea farmers, form village loans and savings associations, and also supporting farmers and members of coffee and tea cooperatives to receive training on child labor elimination in farm activities. Supporting and training private sector companies on child labor due diligence. And also the project has facilitated withdrawal of more than 5,000 children from child labor and provided vocational and training services. Through another project that we call Strengthening Capacity of Governments to Address Child Labor, Forced Labor, Trafficking in Persons, and Violations of Acceptable Conditions of Work, we have been strengthening the capacity of governments, not just in Uganda, but also Kenya, and also at EAC level, to address child labor, forced labor, and human trafficking. And the key interventions are on enforcement of legal frameworks and policies pertaining to child labor, and also improved assistance services to victims of child labor and forced labor, and also the partnerships in addressing these vice. We have a new project funded by the European Union, and this is one that brings us together with the FAO, so Andrea, who was being introduced just recently, and also UNICEF, Dr. Munia, and also International Trade Center, to see how to address child labor in global supply chains. Focusing on coffee, as you know, coffee is a very important product in Uganda. And so this project will try to address the root causes of child labor in supply chains through an area-based approach as well as a supply chain approach. And it will look at developing knowledge on what are the root causes and drivers of child labor in the coffee supply chain, integrate area-based sustainable solutions to eliminate child labor in the value chain, and also develop global and regional partnerships. So it is something that we are excited about with our partners, because we believe that if we work together, it is only when we do that that we can be able to achieve better results. The theme for this year, World Day Against Child Labor, is social justice for all, ending child labor. And as we have seen from statistics, it seems what is happening with the child labor looks like the opposite. If we are talking about ending child labor, we are seeing the numbers going up. We have had the number 160 million globally. Almost, it means 1 in every 10, or 10% of children are engaged in child labor globally. 80 million, so about half or 50% of the 160 million are in the most hazardous form of child labor. That child labor that can actually cause or endanger physical health and also even their life. And but child labor, we know, happens because parents, not because parents are bad people, but not because they don't care, but sometimes it is because of a lack of social justice. So how can we enhance decent work for adults? How can we support families to send their children to school? How can we support families to create opportunities to raise incomes so that they do not see the need to engage their children in child labor? How can we enforce the available laws and regulations and create safe and health workplaces? So we need to end discrimination, because child labor mostly affects marginalized groups or the poor people in our communities. Promoting concrete actions to address root causes and advancing social justice are at the heart of the Durban call to action adopted at the 5th Global Conference for the Elimination of Child Labor in 2022. That call to action is a blueprint for turning the tide against child labor using all the available economic, political, and social levers. It seeks to ensure that child labor is prioritized in national and global policy making activities, in development cooperation, and also in financial trade and investment agreements. And as I've said, in Uganda, we have very good frameworks in which we can achieve that. As I conclude, Honorable Guest of Honor, I'm filled with both a sense of urgency and a sense of hope. A sense of urgency because the progress we had been making seems to have been rolled back a bit, but also hope in that with our collective responsibilities, we are able to address the challenge. We are therefore asking everyone to join in working towards a world where no child will be deprived of a normal health childhood, will be deprived of their dignity, will be deprived of their future. Because if the child does not learn today, then we limit the opportunities of what they can do in their future. Where parents can find decent jobs and children can go to school and play as part of their development. Let us continue to work hand in hand, inspire change, and build a world where the rights of children are protected, their potential is nurtured, and their dreams are realized. Once more, on behalf of ILO, I wish to thank and congratulate you all, especially the government, workers and employers organizations, and our sister UN agencies, our development partners, all the stakeholders here for your efforts towards the elimination of child labor and standing up to be counted on this day. Thank you, and I wish ourselves very fruitful deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that message. We know how ILO is very dedicated in the promotion of decent work and the elimination of child labor. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have the honor of hearing directly from the future leaders and change makers of our country. The voices we are about to hear are not only filled with innocence and purity, but also carry a resounding call of action against child labor. These remarkable children have gathered their thoughts and dreams and hopes for a brighter future, and they are eager to share their heartfelt messages with all of us. So let's lend a hand and open our ears and listen attentively to the children's call to action against child labor. They will make this call to action after a poem, and this is something that they are going to do, and I hope that you will be inspired to take concrete steps, advocate for change, and work tirelessly to ensure that every child's rights are protected and honored. As the children make their way, the children who are going to make their poem right away, could you kindly make your way on the stage? As the children make their way here, please join me and welcome them with a warm round of applause. Let's welcome these courageous young leaders and advocates. And I hope that their voices will ignite the flame and the fire within us to fight against child labor. Give them another round of applause as they come. Okay, the children, the stage is yours. As the children get ready, I will ask the children on this side to be ready as well, so that they can lead us into the call of action. Okay, so the children, just before you get started, the children, going to do the poem. First stop, sorry, we are live on NTV, and we thought that we needed some concrete actions, but just for the children going to make the poem, you could just hold on. Let's have the children going to make the call to action. Do that immediately fast, and then right after that, then we'll have the children to do the poem. Okay, please make your way, make your way. This call is just 2 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, meanwhile, let's feel free to make ourselves comfortable with a cup of tea or coffee out. If you have not had the opportunity, the serving is still going on. Let's go ahead with the call to action.
Our dear guests, after listening to the children with a poem, we are here to make a call to action in representation of 6 million children stuck in child labor.
We call upon you to unite for change. Stand against child labor and make the voices of Ugandan children heard. Every child deserves a chance to dream, play, and enjoy their rights. Let's come together to create a brighter future. We urge the government to strengthen the enforcement of laws against child labor, prioritize investment, equality, and inclusive education. Our parents, development partners, support education for all children, the orphans, the vulnerable, the neglected ones, and the like, all need your attention. Let's stop gender-based violence and flee from harm.
We call upon you to join the movement, parents, religious leaders, child rights actors, and society at large. Raise your voice, spread awareness, support sports and talents development, and provide guidance to children. Together, we can eliminate child labor and create a Uganda where every child's future shines.
Thank you. A round of applause for the children. Indeed, the resounding voices have given us what we need to do as a country. Next, I would like to welcome the children from Chireka Church of Uganda with a poem.
Come on. This is Chireka Church of Uganda Primary School presenting a poem entitled "I'm going to End Child Labor." Ooh-wee, Mama Nyabo. Is it a sound of a drum?
No, it's a sound cry of children, the future of tomorrow.
Little attention you give us, oh Lord, have mercy upon us, according to your loving kindness. Yes. Abakunganye mwena abampuliriza, abakadde n'abato betuuziza, abavubuka kadeke mwefiiriza, twesimye balaba bannange muli mutya, era dde bamama era dde batata abeeka. Katisooka obaaza ennaku enkulu ezimanyiddwa nga Kirisimansi n'olusooka omwaka gattako Idi k'onaabeenula. Oh my dad, why do you kill my future? Why me working like a slave?
You must work, tewajja kulya. You call me a pig, I'm like a slave, working day and night without pay, carrying cooked maize every day to the market in a heavy basket.
No food,
no medical care,
child labor. Woo-wee! Mwe batata mwansobera.
Tubadde ki?
Mwe temwagala kututwala ku ssomero.
Mukole ki?
Tusomeko.
Mukuze.
Musajja mukulu ow'ekirevu.
Wangi.
Omwenge gwakufuukira omwenge. Embwa giyitamwa, akamyo kayitamyu.
Ha, naye egaanamwe aniige mujoga katuleete ekiboko tubaswanyule.
Ate musango ki? Mwe temwagala kututwala ku ssomero. Tusomeko.
Mufumbirwe. You employers of children, you manipulate, you deceive children, you force them into labor with threats and fake promises. It's like they don't know how we feel, because our head doesn't see that really, but we feel more pain than they do, and for they are doing. They should be sued. We are sick of doing this every day. Stop child labor.
Our cuts and bruises are not healing. As we do this day by day, it's like they feel but have no feeling. And aren't they bothered of what we have to say? We are tired of doing this every day. Stop child labor.
They get paid in the tears we shed. We get no love or a bed. We need some help. Please help us. Help those whose lungs cannot breathe and those whose voices are scattered. Stop child labor, you employers of children.
Hi! Raise up the alarm. Broke up the trumpet. Sing, dance, shout to them. You employers of children, you may call it nonsense. Who calls it nonsense? And why calls it nonsense? Chinekeo. Such dangerous thing to wange ensi egudde eddalu.
The community, let's own all our children like in the ancient days. Do not allow any form of child labor and report any to the police.
Dear parents, it is your duty to protect your children against child labor. Do not send them into exploitation.
The government enforce laws on child labor. Prosecute all the culprits.
Our dear government, invest in quality education for us children.
Fellow children, be focused with a bright future. The sky is the limit.
We thank NGOs like PLA, government and development partners for fighting for our rights.
Schools provide a good learning environment for the children to stay in schools.
Fellow Ugandans, let us social justice for all. Thanks to Action for Labor Action for rescuing us from child labor. They have given us a platform indeed. Bravo PLA! Bravo PLA! Bravo PLA! Tujja kwogera bingi kati tukome wano byandiyitira ne twogera ebikankanya katwesigulenga ekyakya esenze bibatu n'oyo atakuumira era yamba abawuje angale ayisa abasajja kabaka ne Nnabagerekagerekera Obuganda bayi mweraba.
You know, I thought the applause would be more thunderous than that. I mean, these are well-packaged messages, well-delivered. These are children from Chireka Church of Uganda Primary School. May we give them a round of applause as they go back. Children, have you had some tea? Please feel free to go for another cup of tea for the good work you have done. Yes. And at that juncture, ladies and gentlemen, on that high note, I want to take this singular honor to invite the Permanent Secretary to invite the Honorable Minister to speak to us. A round of applause.
I had already introduced the Honorable Minister, Sarah Nyirabasiki Mateke, who is the Minister of State for Youth and Children Affairs. We are greatly honored to have you in our midst, and I would like to invite you to come and address us on this important occasion.
The Permanent Secretary. The UN Resident Coordinator, if he's here. The ILO Country Director, Country Representative of FAO or their representative, Country Representative of UNICEF, the Head of Mission of IOM, Executive Director, Federation of Uganda Employers, Secretary General of NATO and COFTO, representatives of civil society organizations, government officials, development partners, invited guests, not forgetting all the technical officers from different MDAs, ladies and gentlemen. I think most of the things have been talked about. So we are almost doing repetition. Even the children have already talked what we are supposed to say. But for the interest of what I had already put down, allow me to read what I have already put down. Fellow Ugandans, it is my pleasure to address you and congratulate all Ugandans on this year's commemoration of the World Day Against Child Labor. The International Labour Organization launched the first World Day Against Child Labor in 2002, and it's observed every 12th June as a way of highlighting the plight of children engaged in child labor. This year's theme is social justice for all, end child labor. The theme is relevant as it calls for the end of child labor. It speaks to the spirit and strategy of government to protect children and their families. Social justice is a key strategy of our national development efforts and is prioritized in our National Development Plan 3. Fellow Ugandans, child labor refers to work that is mentally, physically, socially, and morally dangerous and harmful to children. It is hazardous work which by its nature or in the circumstances under which it is performed jeopardizes the health, safety, and morals of our children, including interfering with their school attendance. According to ILO, the Child Labor Global Estimates 2020, child labor remains a persistent problem in the world today. The latest global estimates indicate that 160 million children, that is 63 million girls and 97 million boys, were in child labor globally at the beginning of 2020. The recent UBOS National Labor Force Survey, which my PS has already talked about, revealed that 6.2 million, that is 40% of the 15.7 million children aged between 5 to 17 years were involved in child labor, excluding household chores. The rates were higher in rural areas compared to the urban areas. When I look at this child labor, of course it's one of the causes of the school dropouts in our country. Because when you look at the rate at which our children drop out in school, we have like over 1 million that drop out or who do not complete or who drop out before PLE. Government is aware that continued rise of the children in child labor will jeopardize the overall development plan and interfere with the right to education. Without education, children, when they become adults, will be underutilized, thus less productive. This will also be, in the medium and long term, affect the national productivity. We therefore need to work together to meet the target 8.7 of the 2030 agenda to end child labor in all its forms by 2025. It is critical for all of us to intensify, embrace, and scale up right-based actions by all stakeholders and fight together against the vice. When the children were talking about enforcement, it reminded me the few times that I have visited most of my schools. There is a school I went to visit. Out of the 56 children who were supposed to attend the class that day, there were only 5 students in the class. And they told me that it is the season of picking tea. So they are all in the tea plantation picking tea. I looked at it as something very dangerous, and I said, now, where are the labor officers? Who is supposed to enforce this, that these children do not go in the tea plantations? It also happened, I think, in another sub-county where I went. They were in the whole school. There were supposed to be 330 in attendance that day. But that day, there were only 80 students in the school. They told me they have gone to carry onions for the business community. So you can see the biggest challenge that we have. And indeed, our children are exploited because even the little money they pay them surely. And of course, when you keep giving them the money, that makes them drop out of school. They do not see the importance of staying in school when they are earning little money. Fellow Ugandans, government is also aware that some households, particularly those under subsistence economy, 39%, find themselves in an inevitable position to being unable to meet their basic needs and end up sending their children to work, sometimes in very hard situations, and the work environment is not suitable for them to supplement the household income. We are taking proactive measures to address the problem. Under the leadership of His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the government is mounting a comprehensive and sustainable response to address child labor in the following ways. 1, implementation of the parish development model. You may recall that last year in 2022, on 26th March, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda launched the parish development model in Chibuku district, Eastern Uganda, and PDM is aimed at moving households from subsistence agriculture to money economy. This move is projected to create more jobs as the 39% of the households graduate from subsistence to producing for the market. The changes the parish development model will bring will create productive jobs and increase incomes at the household level. With this initiative, parents will be able to look after their children. Secondly, implementation of the universal primary education and the universal secondary education. These interventions ensure that all our children have access to education. The programs provide free education in government primary schools, though some people have decided to begin charging, but it's supposed to be free. Government continues to invest heavily in education infrastructure, teacher training and curriculum development, and also implement various policies and programs aimed at increasing access to education. These interventions enable all children have access to free education. Peace and security. There cannot be any form of development without peace and security. Since His Excellency the President took over power in 1986, he has secured peace and security in every corner of this country. This peace has enabled Ugandans to engage in the production of goods and services that are central to generation of household incomes. Peace and stability has partly contributed to the reduction in the households in subsistence economy that now stands at 39%, as well as reduced the proportion of poor persons from 33.8% in 1999-2000 to 20.3% in 2029-2020. Implementation of the wealth creation programs. There are several wealth creation programs, such as Operation Wealth Creation that my PS had already talked about. We have the EMUGA, we have the Juakali support, we also have the special grants for people with disability, we have the funds for YLP for the youth, and funds for the women entrepreneurship scheme. Also, these contribute to increase the household incomes. By providing financial support to households, many parents have been enabled to move from subsistence production to commercial production. Addressing poverty, which is one of the drivers of child labor, the government has saved many children from falling victim to child labor. Fellow Ugandans, I would like to remind all of us that on this day, the ILO, together with its constituents and partners, will be promoting concrete actions to address the root causes of child labor and advancing social justice which was at the heart of the Durban Call of Action, which was adopted at the 5th Global Conference for Elimination of Child Labor in May 2022 in South Africa. We therefore consider 2023 World Day Against Child Labor to be a moment of all of us to commit to end child labor and to demonstrate that change can be achieved when we are all determined, and when we have the will to do it together, it can be done. As I conclude, I would like to encourage all stakeholders to prioritize ending child labor by dealing with the causes and drivers. Our current wealth creation efforts is therefore one of the ways of dealing with this vice. We believe that by addressing poverty, working on the negative mindsets, and providing alternatives to negative cultural beliefs and practices, we can end child labor in Uganda. I want to take this opportunity to thank the development partners that work with Government of Uganda in our effort to mount a sustainable response to child labor. We reaffirm our commitment to continue strengthening the legal, policy, and institutional framework. We shall continue to enhance partnerships and coordinate increased access to social justice to all vulnerable households and persons. I also encourage I encourage all of you to know that a child's childhood is for learning. Don't use the child for earning. Children are the future, and hence let us help them to grow. Let them earn knowledge and not money. Tell your neighbor that child labor is illegal. Have you heard me? In conclusion, I call upon all leaders to play their role in combating child labor. We shall not tolerate the employment of children in hazardous work. We shall not tolerate employers who are employing children who are supposed to be in school. We are strengthening the Department of Labor, Industrial Relations and Productivity, and the Industrial Court to identify and prosecute those violating the law. We urge communities and the media to work with us in reporting cases of child labor. I want to thank you once again, and of course thank the organizers of this event, and wish you good luck in your deliberations. For God and my country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honourable Minister, for those remarks and for giving us a resounding message, really, in terms of ending child labor. Honourable Minister, we will request you that we now append our signatures to this commitment. Given what has transpired here today, we need to make some commitments by way of signing off the key commitments on the board there. The Honourable Minister will be accompanied by the UNICEF country representative, as well as the FAO representative here with us today, and ILO, exactly. Yes, the marker pen, please. Yeah. Move up. If you could just move the. Okay, can we have? Can you bring the children who are supposed to be here? This has to be witnessed by the children. Children, please come. Let's. Honorable, I think for the camera people, where is better? Is it up or down? We can sign it from there, right? Camera people, is that fine? Okay, Honorable, I think that position is good. Children, please feel free to be on either side of the board. Very good. And as the Honorable Minister signs off, let's give it a round of applause. Very good. Signed by your own, the Minister in charge, Youth and Children Affairs. Now let's have ILO. Yes, there we are. All the way from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. ILO appends his signature. A round of applause. Very good. May we have UNICEF, Dr. Mnir. There we go. Yes. Yep, right there. There we go. UNICEF appends the signature. Thank you so much. Round of applause. And last but not least, FAO. Yes. All the way from Rome. A round of applause. Thank you for coming to append that signature there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, may we have the social partners? FUE. FUE, COF2, please sign off. Yes, there we are. And of course, let's have some children sign this off as well. It's your privilege, children, now to sign off anywhere on that board. You can put your name as well. That will be very good. There we go. The children are being witness to this. And please, children, as you sign, you note the people who have signed there, so that next year you ask them what they have done about that. Okay? That could be your homework. Those who have signed, you can go and take your seats. Thank you so much. Very good. Good to see the children sign off there. Other partners, you'll also be given an opportunity to sign off. So for those who have not had opportunity yet to sign off, no worries, because the board will be placed right on this side for anyone else to have an opportunity to append their signature after this. Honorable Minister, allow me to recognize that here with us we have Miss Anna Bryans and Megan from Action on Poverty, UK. It's good to have you here. I hope you're loving Uganda. Oh, that's a pleasure to know. You're most welcome. I want now to invite the Deputy ED, PLA, to take us through the next session, and which is virtually the very last panel discussion. She will introduce the panelists and then go ahead with the floor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Frank. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me adopt the protocol as it has already been stated. Right now, I'm going to request someone to help us to remove the commitment board so that we can go to the panel discussion. Okay, I'm going to request the following panelists to make their way to the platform. the representative from FUE, Mr. Kabi Geoffrey, representing the Executive Director. Please, when I mention someone's name, we just welcome them with a hand clap, please. Allow me welcome Ms. Beatrice Achiro from COF2. Ms. Juliet Wajega from Hivos Foundation, representing the CSOs. We'll have Ms. Jackie